What's up, babes, and welcome back to another weekly video. If you're new here, I am TracyJvmes. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, join the family, and join the vibes. And of course, to my babes and my bae watchers who have shown up for me yet again, thank you guys so much for being here. You guys know how much I love and appreciate all your love and support for everything that I do. So thank you guys so much. And as you guys can tell by the title of the video, we are going to be doing a part 2 of my video talking about the mask for mask and no FEMS agenda that is being pushed within the gay community. And I stand on that. Okay, and we're gonna be reading some of these comments specifically to one of the girls that felt like they wanted to get me together and give me a lesson or two. Oh no ma'am, one thing about TracyJvmes, you come for me, I'm gonna come right back for you, okay? And remember guys, this is all for entertainment purposes, so don't take it to heart. So let's get into some things. So we're gonna call this particular user Ghost, because you know the girls that just get on YouTube and make those really quick accounts, don't bother to create a username or upload a profile picture. Those are usually the ones that try to read you down in the comments. But baby, I'm gonna get in the field right with you. So the first comment, Miss Casper, the friendly ghost, commented was timestamp 6 minutes and 57 seconds. You only speak on this because it excludes you. You feel hurt because people reject you, hence why you feel entitled to be liked by others. Let's take a look at timestamp 6 minutes and 57 seconds, shall we? But like, there's never a conversation about no masculine, you know? And I was thinking like, why is that? And I was kind of observing being out recently, and the masculine presenting guys are truly feminine guys just kind of masking it with this masculine persona. But okay, honey, let's try to figure out how this comment can make any sense, because if you paid attention to what I was saying, I was talking about there's not much conversation or many preferences that says no mask. And honey, one thing about me, I've never been rejected. And don't get it twisted, I'm not above being rejected or unwanted, but rejection is crazy. In order to get rejected, you would have to be pursuing something and get denied. And one thing about it, anything I pursue, I get, honey. And those are facts, okay? So yeah, I'm not upset because people prefer masculine guys. The whole premise of the video was talking about why you prefer masculine guys as another masculine man, if you are in fact masculine, okay? We need to learn the definition of words, because if you want to talk about what masculinity really is, that's a whole other conversation. But don't worry, you addressed that in your comments, so we'll get to that. All right, let's move on to the next comment that Miss Casper, the friendly ghost, decided she wanted to comment in my video. All right, so let's go to timestamp 6 minutes and 40 seconds. It's usually the masculine presenting guys that are normally saying no FEMS. I've never seen anyone in the gay community say no masculine man. Honestly, why do you even care? It's given a sense of entitlement. What we are not going to do is police people's preferences. You hate when people tell you to act a certain way. Why are you judging who masked men are attracted to? Some people are androsexual, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love it when the girls be on social. You can tell when girls are on social media a lot because they start to use like words that they probably never would have used a day in their life, like policing people's preferences. Policing would mean enforcing laws, right? And nowhere in this video did I make it a law to where it's wrong to prefer other masculine guys, right? So let's stay off social media and using these trending topics and terms that we don't really know what they mean, because in no way in this video I was policing anybody's preferences. And in fact, let's take a look at what I said here. Let me just say this, I am not someone that ever wants to change your preference or has an issue with you preferring one over the other. I love people that are very forthcoming about what they prefer, what they like, what they don't like, because that just lets me know whether or not I'm the one for you. Now, all right, and since you decided to give me a vocabulary lesson, let's all read the definition of an androsexual. So an androsexual means being attracted to masculinity regardless of a person's gender identity. But let's just say that if masculine is a term and androsexual is a term and feminine is a term, and these are subcategories to what you prefer, wouldn't they be an androsexual and not masculine? So that further proves my point. You're not masculine, you're an androsexual. So thank you so much for that vocabulary lesson. Let's help these people figure out what they really are in the community, okay? Thank you, girl. Appreciate that. All right, and so let's see what else you had to say in this comment, honey. Let's go back to the comment, make sure I'm not missing anything. Some people are androsexual and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. If you just look at what I just proved to you, I said there's nothing wrong with people's preferences, okay? So this video, part one, was never to try to make anybody feel bad about what they prefer. It was simply asking a question of why. And we're gonna get to why in just a few minutes, because you also asked me why I prefer something that I prefer. And one thing about me, I don't mind telling you why I prefer what I prefer, because guess what? I'm transparent and I'm not trying to hide who I am, okay? All right, so let's move on to the next timestamp that we have here from Miss Casper. So we have timestamp 16 minutes and 2 seconds. Maybe I'll highlight certain comments in the next video and get my feedback, but I just kind of wanted to open that conversation. Start off by telling us, well actually she said start off by telling us why you a bottom and only seeking a top. Child, this girl just tried to gag me talking about vocabulary, and honey, you don't even know how to form a complete sentence. Sweetie, let's work on that. It's giving you one of the girls that like to cut people off when they're talking, so it gives that in this comment, like you was typing too fast. You was spinning the type, and you can get it all the way together. So let's work on that. Let's work on complete sentences and using words for what they really are. Of, it's not off, okay? So let's start off by telling us why you are a bottom and not why you a bottom. Child. Anyway, so if you want to talk about why I am a bottom, you know how when you're just so good at something and you know you just leave all of your people feeling amazing and you're like, you know what, I did that. I really did that. You lean into that. So that's why I'm a bottom, because I'm great at it. Any more questions? I didn't think so. Okay, so let's move on to the next timestamp. We have timestamp 13 minutes and 12 seconds. Let's stop psychoanalyzing people. Preference is preference. You are a perfect example because you're a bottom. What influenced you being a bottom? We've already answered that. And I've already provided proof of why I'm not psychoanalyzing anybody. But in reference to this timestamp, let's take a look at that. So have you ever really sat with yourself and wondered, why do I prefer masculine guys? You know, as another black gay man, why do I prefer that? That was just me simply posing a question. And all I wanted to know was why. Timestamp 15 minutes and 26 seconds. No, it's called androsexual. Attraction to masculine traits and mannerisms. Let's get some education and stop being ignorant. Well, we've already determined who needs to get some education in this video. But, you know, we're going to just leave that alone because we've already addressed that. But let's just take a look at that timestamp just for shits and giggles. You have this feminine tendency and urgency within you that craves masculinity. It's not just because you like masculine guys, it's because you have that same femininity within you, but you're straight presenting, so you kind of get a pass. All right, so once again, girl, if you would have just watched the video through and through without pausing and cutting me off to comments, you would have seen that all of your questions and concerns would have been answered. But you know, usually some people who want to have an opposing opinion, they don't really care to listen to understand, they listen to respond. So Casper, you got that. Hopefully I was able to explain and put to rest any concerns or thoughts that you had concerning my perspective on this topic. So we're gonna go ahead and send you back down to the comments and we'll address you at another time. Bye, Casper. All right, let's move on to some other comments that we got. So this comment says, oh my God, you are spot on regarding the whole masculine concept. I just went out with my homeboy to Bulldogs, Truth, and Marquette, and he's a top and definitely judges the FEMS hard. Like, he only wants to talk to masculine presenting men, but they have to be bottoms. Child, it's a mess. LOL. Girl, I couldn't agree with you more. It's almost like, build a gay these days. You are so specific about every little thing. You have to be masculine, but you gotta be a bottom. And then you masculine, but you gotta be extremely clean and flushed out and ready to go as a bottom. And it's like, girl, pick a struggle, honey, because you ain't gonna get all of that in one. And you might, and you just very well might, but I guarantee you, if you find a masculine bottom that stays dushed and dangerous, honey, I can promise you, according to Casper, they're androsexual and not masculine, okay? Because you ain't gonna get all of that in this community, especially not in Atlanta, honey. You just ain't gonna get that. And if you can get that, honey, let me know, because I would love to see it. If there's an example of that, honey, and you got the proof and the receipts, let me know. But it's just, it just like makes it harder for people to really date people for who they are inside when you come to the table with all of these preferences. And usually those preferences are laced in insecurity, but we've already talked about that, so we're gonna move on because we don't want to give Casper nothing else to talk about, child. All right, so the next comment says, I'm old school. The whole thing about being a male attracted to another male is the male energy. I respect the fluidity of this generation, but if I wanted feminine energy, I'd be with a female. But you also then said that I'm glad you didn't take my words the wrong way. The bottom line is I respect people for how they live and how they present themselves. I just want to be respected for what I like without being viewed as a problem. I got with FEMS all the time living in Atlanta, but had no interest in anything beyond that. Best wishes to you from South Africa. So, babes, that was a contradiction. If you are attracted to masculine men, why are you getting with feminine guys? And I'm going to assume that getting with feminine guys meaning that you're doing something sexual with them, right? So if you're not attracted to that because you would want to be with a woman instead, but you are interested enough to sleep with them, yeah. I personally feel like that's a contradiction, but hey, so be it. If you rather be, I don't know, attracted to masculine men out loud and just want to sleep with femme men on the low, do you, baby? But to me, that's a contradiction, because if you are attracted to them enough to sleep with them, then you are attracted to them. Maybe you just don't want to be in a relationship with them, and that's fine. But to say that you only are attracted to masculinity, yeah, babes, I don't agree with that. But that's your opinion, and that's your preference, and that's fine. All right, so let's move on to this next comment. This is really, really long, but I really appreciate this comment because it definitely called me out. And one thing about it, I am not against being called out and my feet being held to the fire about anything that I've said or was a part of that pushed an agenda. So I appreciate this comment a lot, and thank you so much, babe. So this comment says, I love this discussion. I would also say I have seen femme men say no femmes too, not always masculine. I always hear a lot of them say, no, oh no, she's sister, or she just like me. We could never date because we are like sisters. Just like you have said sometimes in the video with you and Die Randoms. Hi, Die Randoms. Doing the smash or pass video. Not putting you down at all for it because I love you. I love you too, babes. But just saying, some feminine men have said it too. I think a lot of it, like you said, come from our upbringings, the church, what we are expected to be in society. Crazy thing is, mine is the opposite. I didn't like masculine men because they scared me. They reminded me of my abusive stepdad. If they were too masked, I felt afraid. Even trans women, I was afraid of them because they are different. Now I'm open. I learned it's not about sex, but it's how the person treats me. I am really going on energy, and I often tell my friends, I don't know who I'm going to end up with. People energy can really make you change your mind about what you think is your preference. I just state, I'm open, I'm naturally a top, but I try to be open to bottoming. Not something I like at all, but I also say if I love that person, it's not all about me. Still trying to figure that part out. My friends say I should be open to that. I have done it from 16 up to 30. Because I know that this is what someone I was with wanted, but I really don't like it. I love this comment. This comment is a prime example of why I started this conversation to begin with. Let's dig deeper of why we prefer what we prefer and why we don't prefer what we prefer. First of all, let me start off by saying, babes, you are absolutely right. I have said many times in the past, oh, that's my sister. I could never be with another feminine guy. And I also explained in this video that was me pushing that heteronormative narrative. Obviously, me as a feminine gay boy, I was in an era in which I only preferred masculine guys. And I only preferred masculine guys because when I thought about it, I was mirroring the heteronormative standard. And I know what y'all about to say, Tracy, we told you was feeding into the heteronormative narrative and lifestyle. And at the time, I didn't want to see it because I was saying, that's my preference. And I take accountability for that 100%. So thank you for calling that out. I appreciate that, and you are absolutely right. But I also appreciate the fact that you were able to explain why certain things triggered you and why you didn't like certain things. And a lot of people within the community have those same triggers or similar stories of why they prefer what they prefer. And they're not saying that. They're just basically pushing this narrative that one thing is worse off than the other, instead of saying, I prefer masculinity because I have this attraction to what makes me feel safe or what makes me feel more feminine or fluid, so to speak, if you don't want to consider yourself a feminine guy as a masculine man preferring other masculinity. But that's neither here nor there, honey. We're gonna leave it alone. But yes, babes, you're absolutely right. And I love the fact that you are open to trying different things and expanding your palette, so to speak, in terms of your sexuality and being open to dating other people, not just for what you prefer sexually. So that's great. I love that. I love the accountability there. So thank you so much for your comments, babes. I really appreciate it. And I think those are all the comments I wanted to address that spoke specifically to the topic of the video. But like I said, you guys, I am not against one's preference, okay? Your preference is your preference. I have no issue with that. This conversation was simply to open and start a conversation of why we, not just masculine people, but why do we prefer what we prefer when it comes down to our gay experience. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to comment down below. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a part 3. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I do know that next week we're getting back to the weekly vlog, so you guys will be able to see me on a weekly basis living my life here in Atlanta. So if you prefer weekly vlogs, don't worry, we're getting back into that next week. So thank you guys for watching. I love you like always. If you are new here, hello, I am TracyJvmes. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the family and join the vibes. I'm wishing you guys an amazing week full of new opportunities and new blessings. And to my babes, I love you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, babes. Mwah.